price analysis. Upward targets, downward targets. We're going to look at the market on 3 solid assets, but we're also going to look at the overall thing in terms of the bias, because I think it's important. On the screen, if you want to see more of these assets, by the way, in the next video on Patreon is going to be the rest of them that I've got on these sticky notes that members have requested. So what you're seeing today is what people have requested. Now, the market. Put this on Twitter yesterday regarding the overall bias. Now, we have found a level, which is good to see. We have found a level of support here. I think this is the downward trend kind of happening. Personal thoughts, right? I think as much as there is a load of like, yeah, higher lows, it doesn't look healthy. A market should not correct that deep overall. I think it's a little bit of a cheeky move. I think we could be looking at fake out territory. The market has to pull up and it has to go and eclipse over 48k essentially, and I think that'd be quite a big tough ask. Essentially, now we've got a lot of traffic in front of us. You can see that on the higher time frames. We're now below the EMA 21 on the 3-day time frame. We've got all this kind of stuff here. We're back in the range. We're back in that old range, and we don't want to be. Weekly time frame, that looks bad. It's not great. It doesn't look good. And this is why we've got to talk about targets, right? Where can we go? Now, BTC, I've mapped these out. If we fail to recapture this level here, we're going to go down. We're going to go probably retest 37k, probably going to retest 33k, 34k, and then we may actually go and beyond that. That is, by the way, the most unlikely, but also likely. Makes sense? Cool. But we've also got to think, well, what if this carries on going? What if we do actually capture these levels and this 618 level holds? It could happen, definitely could happen, and we could be looking at 51 and 56. Now, I know this is the thing. Failure to capture that level, we need to capture that level. If we do not capture this level up here, this bit here, right, with me, things are going to get ropey. Okay, so at the moment, if you're in my Patreon, you'll know this. You'll know what my split is, right? And I've said this before. You'll probably be able to work it out very, very quickly, right? So the reason why I say this is because when we go back in time and we're looking at all this kind of pattern situation, we've got history of like huge corrections in previous bull and bear markets, right? That kind of happens, obviously. But the one thing that I will say is we're kind of at a crossroads where all-time high to current live prices, you know, yeah, we're down roughly, what, 42%. Yeah, cool, whatever. But the question that I've got to ask and what to ponder is, from current live prices to all-time high, we're roughly around $29,000 away, right? And also you got to look at the fact of, well, where could we go? Well, the Ian marking question that I've often found is 12k. Everyone's talking about 12k, right? Give or take around that point, in between that sort of level. Why is 12k important? 12k is important because that would be roughly where the last previous corrections have been. There's been 2 of them, around 84 and 86% corrections in the previous halving cycles. I'm just saying, if that happens again, we are currently at a crossroads at the moment in terms of analysis. 50% give or take, which you probably worked out what my kind of hedge is at the moment. I would rather be in the market and hope we get a run up to the upside, but I'd also like to have money out of the market just in case we go lower. Risk capital, right? Wealth preservation is hugely important. So that is my overall kind of opinion on it, right? I think we are at a toying cost situation in this market. I do not think there's an absolute that we're going to go up. I do not think there's an absolute that we're going to go down. But I do think the market is more favouring to controlling bears at the moment versus controlling bulls. Moving on to the next thing would be the total market cap. Now, again, this is kind of a bit wishy-washy. More and more coins coming into the market will always give us that situation of an inflated kind of run on this. So we're going to be careful, but again, we've fallen right into this kind of region where we probably don't want to be. This kind of region here, where it's been a bit wishy-washy over the period of time, not great. And I think if we fall into this kind of zone, we may well get some real interest of maybe some boring markets and maybe some wild manipulational wick spikes, which we have had in the past over the last few weeks, as you can see by these massive wicks to the upside failures and stuff catching people out. So we need to be careful. Anyways, 3 assets I was going to go through on this video, and the first one is Polkadot, right? So Polkadot on the weekly actually doesn't look too great, but for me, I'm more than happy to hold on to this. I'm more than happy to kind of do my thing with it and accumulate anyways. Profit taking up here, parachains, all kinds of good stuff. But again, the network effect of parachains hasn't really happened yet. So it's more of a patient hold and you need to wait for the network effect. But overall, this level is probably the mustard level on the higher time frames. That one is probably not a bad place to be. But again, as I've said in my Patreon videos and on Learning Crypto, you got to play the game as a bit of a market maker as well. You got to buy the lows and sell the highs, right? And if you can do that via, you know, a mentality over a period of time, you'll probably get better in this market. When we're looking at the facts of, you know, the dominance kind of, you know, situation here. Now, this is all the stable currencies. Up means bad for the market, down means good, right? We're currently trending up, profit taking, boom, right? More money has gone into the stable currencies, and this has happened for a lot of assets. But when we start to look at what has happened here, it doesn't look great. The reason why I say that is because when we start looking at the fib levels, and if we're going to go from, let's just go from this previous kind of high level here to this region, we have pulled up into this 382 level, but we've failed to hold it. This level's been a failure. If we are going to go down, we may well see it go back down to 14 or even roughly around $10. That wouldn't be a bad place to be if you are looking long term at this for a potential accumulation. But all I'm saying is it doesn't look great. Even if we're going to adapt this a little bit and look at this previous level where we've went from this low down into this level, into the 618, we could realistically be looking at like levels where it's got absolute confluence between certain regions. So maybe you may want to look at accumulation of this if keyword is if we go down to those levels. That could be opportunity levels, and even this, if this level happens, it'll probably bounce off it, right? If it bounces off it, you know, buy low, take some profit, reaccumulate low, keep it simple, right? So that is Polkadot. However, that being said, that is only one side of the story. That is only the bearish side. Now, if we are going to put a level of interest here, just for future reference, I'm not saying it's going to happen, future reference, like anything in the market, future reference is a key point. And I said this before in previous videos, and people just don't get it. Even if I'm marking out these levels, it's there as a reference guide. It is there just in case things go a bit naughty, right? And if we're looking at those situations, cool, right? It happens. Now, what about the bullish scenario? The bullish scenario, again, we've got to look at certain situations here. Impulse. We're on the 618 at the minute. We could actually carry on going up. So maybe these levels may not happen, but maybe they will. You just don't know. But what about if these happen? Well, if you're in the market now and you're not taking profit at $26, $29, $36, well, you should be, because maybe the market may be coming over to the cooking side of into various cycles, and people may be trapped up here, maybe wanting to take their positions anyways, their profit. So just be careful. Anyways, there you go, reference points. I'll keep it on my chart so people can see it. Anywho, next one was Atom. I'm not going to go too deep on these ones. This one was a one I did not too long ago, and you can see what's happened. Failure, right? Huge wave kind of failure where we are actually in somewhat of a downtrend. We have formed a new low here, so we've got high, low, lower highs, lower low. Failure on this situation here. Not great, right? So essentially what we can do with this is we can kind of go, well, you can now flip into resistance. You can probably remove this one, bring a one lower down here as level of support, and turn that one blue. Keep it super simple. Now that is kind of the structure already. We're kind of sideways. We're falling into potentially another kind of level. Bit boring, but realistically, you've got to look at the facts here. What's actually happened? Well, we've done an impulse right the way up to this level, and we're on our way. We've actually nearly tapped that region. If we're looking at this, it's sideways. It doesn't look great, but this level here, probably $20, is probably going to be important. If we're going to go into the higher time frames and look at it, you can see it overall, it's just looking a bit meh. If we're going to go from this impulse here to this wick, again, it's looking pretty interesting. The 382 failure, we could actually be going much lower. We could actually go back down to $7 or even $15. This one looks a lot worse than the other ones because we don't have that structure level. We do have a series of No, we don't. Ignore that. I think we've broken that. If we were looking at trend analysis, sort of like trend line sort of situation here, you could probably argue that we've actually broken. That looks like a mess, doesn't it? Bear with me. You could probably argue maybe we might be breaking that, but that's the I hate trend lines in crypto because they don't work. They do work, but they don't work, if that makes sense. You can make them whatever the hell you want to make them in crypto. It doesn't make sense. Oh, we'll do wick to wick, body to body, body to wick, whatever. So yeah, you just gotta be careful. So yeah, you could probably argue maybe that's fallen through. Just be careful, right? Just be careful. I wouldn't be looking at buying this just yet. I'd be probably waiting out and seeing what's going to happen because I think it's very, very indecisive. Overall, though, we have got a bit of a down. Well, this is technically forming a downtrend, so we could probably go lower and retest this level at least. So maybe $20 might come into play at some point. Maybe even lower. So just be careful. It has had a bit of a giga pump off the hype of Luna for obvious reasons. It is, Luna power. That powers Luna. Atom, pretty cool. So anyways, that's that. Keep it super simple. I'm not really going to go on upward targets on that one. And the last one I was going to look on, this one was Matic. Now, Matic's an interesting one. Again, I think it's failed. It's kind of formed a high here, a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, probably a lower low is coming in. If we go on the 2-day time frame, you'll probably see it in more. There you go, you can see it in more detail. We have wicked into it and found a level, but for me, it's just looking a bit ropey and a bit precarious. The RSI is looking relatively bearish. It's just slowly just trickling down. And we've had levels already in the past. So if we're going to remove this fib here, so bear with me, let's just start with a naked chart so you can see this. Now, in my opinion, if we're going to go from this impulse, I think we are going to probably look at this level here. Actually, we may have actually already tapped it, essentially. Maybe we'll see. See if this level comes into play, which if we do go all the way across, it's actually quite a meaty, lovely level all the way through. This is on the 2-day time frame. Look at the weekly time frame, you'll probably notice a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of wicks and stuff in and around this region. So keep an eye on this one. This one could be interesting. So go to the daily. Yeah, I think this one may be of interest to a lot of people because I think it's already tapped it through this daily level. It's went up and we may well be coming back down. Now, this is probably going to be critical resistance essentially for this over time. So see where it goes. See if it does actually jolt back up a bit. If it does, it might be all right, but it is forming a downtrend. It looks pretty horrible. So maybe downward targets, it may go a little bit lower and it may well revisit some of the levels from end of 2021. So we'll see where it goes, but there's no uptrend to look at here. There's nothing to really go, oh, we're going to just keep flying up. The trend is kind of already turned. A lot of altcoins do look like this. Some look okay where you can go both sides and you can go, well, what about if that 618 level holds or the 786 holds? Cool. But this doesn't have one. This is just kind of like, if we're looking at this as a situation, by the way, if we're looking from this low to this high, we've done a one-to-one correction, and actually these levels have confluence between these because obviously they're the flip reverse side of the extension. So you may well be looking at these $1 levels anyways. So for me, that is kind of a no-play zone unless you're looking to go short or unless you're looking to buy more lower. I'd wait. It's looking likely it's going to carry on going a little bit more, but we'll see. As I say though, things do bounce. Anyways, if you want to see the rest of the coins that I'm going to do on this analysis, make sure you jump in the Patreon. And yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like. Hopefully I've not burst too many bubbles, but that usually happens because probability and market analysis go hand in hand, really.